Welcome to the Waymaker podcast studio. I have two wonderful gentlemen in here talking about finances. We're talking about real estate and we're talking about finances.
Yes.
I'll ask you all to just introduce yourselves so that people have a good sense of who you are.
My name is Andre Haynes. I am a real estate investor, entrepreneur, content creator, author, a host of other things, and I'm from the south side of Chicago, out of B. Wells Projects. And I'm just glad to be here and be a part of Waymaker's community and helping out however I can, man.
Appreciate that. You're going to talk a little louder the next time, too.
Absolutely.
We got to go through this, brother. All of a sudden, he's soft-spoken.
Yeah, that was a great intro, though.
Wells, and suddenly he's soft-spoken. We're not going for that. Introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Herman Dolce. I'm founder of Bella Stone Enterprises. It's a financial literacy company where we also help businesses, small, medium, and large, get funding so they can grow their business and put them in position for the win.
Talk about yourself a little bit more and tell us how you got into doing the business that you're doing.
So long story long, I got married to my beautiful wife, Janelle. She got pregnant with our amazing daughter, Bella Sloan, who I named the company after. We went on a baby moon, and I had to take 2 weeks off to take this vacation with my wife. And when I got back, I didn't have any more vacation days to spend time with my new family. And I was telling my brother this story, and he said, listen, unless you own something, you'll never be free. And then he was like, listen, that credit thing that you always do, you're doing it for free. You should charge for it. I said, I can't charge for it. It's good information. He's like, listen, they're going to pay somebody. They might as well pay you. So that's how Bella Sloan got started. And I started with helping people with credit restoration. Then I went down the rabbit hole of getting myself to be a better at my craft. And then I learned about business credit. And I was able to teach people how to start their company, leverage credit to grow in real estate, trucking, or whatever, a t-shirt company, whatever the business is. So now they have capital to do that they didn't know they had access to before. So that's the education that I do now.
Appreciate it. Go back a little bit further because you didn't start at getting married.
Yes.
You started someplace else. Where are you from?
So I'm from Philadelphia. Brooklyn made me, but Philly raised me. I've been in Philadelphia for about 30 years now, so that's my home. Went to Temple University and got my master's from Lincoln University.
Oh, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Okay, Mr. Soft-Spoken, I
Talk to him, Dre.
more information about you and how you got into doing what you're doing.
Essentially, I got tired of being broke. I was just like a lot of people in our, low income and minority communities where I was chasing a rap dream, and I felt like that was the only thing that I had. Before that, it was sports. Most times we exposed to sports and entertainment. We don't have a lot of examples of people, being millionaires, entrepreneurs, real estate investors in our communities. So for the first probably 25 years of my life, that's what I thought I was going to do, be an athlete or an entertainer of some sort. Realized it just would not work out. And mind you, I made it pretty far. I had songs on the radio, friends, multi-platinum producers, NBA buddies, all of these things. But none of this stuff worked out for me. And it was all because God had a bigger plan for me. And after I stepped away from music, I went and got me a job, which I felt like was a dead-end job. But the minute that I changed my mindset about that job and stopped looking at it as a dead-end job, but looking at it as my first investor, which is how I qualified for my first property, I learned about how regular, everyday people were getting wealthy, and everything that I Googled in that job and in that cubicle, it led me to real estate and the stock market. So I found out about a program through a mentor of mine called NACA, Neighborhood Assistance Corporations of America, Keoki Allen. She's a real estate broker. She's like, Dre, don't go get you a house. Go get you a multi-unit property through this program, and they allow you to purchase real estate up to 4 units with no closing costs, no down payments, no agent or attorney fees, the lowest interest rate in the country, regardless of what your credit score is, and you have the option to buy the interest rate down lower to make your property more affordable. And when she told me this, instead of me doubting her, I took action on the information, and it's changed my life.
Cold.
So you both just spent time talking to the teenagers here, the Teen Summit.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Here at Waymakers. Share with us what you shared with them.
My main message was, don't let your circumstances dictate your outcome. A lot of times, in our communities, and even in school systems, et cetera, they focus on the kids who are going to college, the kids who are going to do something after high school. But a lot of times kids don't go to college. What are their options? What do they have, you know what I mean, available to them. And I wanted them to know that even at 18 years old, you can go and purchase a piece of property. If you've been working at your McDonald's job, your grocery store job, etc., for 2 years, you can save you a little bit of money. You got you some decent credit. At 18 or 19 years old, you can go and qualify for a property. You don't know this because this is not stuff that they teach from first grade through high school, but that's why you have people like me who are out here spreading this information and sharing this information so that they can have access to it before the age of 30, which is when I found out about it. If I would have knew this at 18 or 19 years old, I wouldn't have been chasing a rap dream. I would have been chasing something that was a little bit more sustainable and something that can really, really generate wealth for me and not just look like I have money. You know what I mean?
So first of all, we like to thank Mr. Carr and Ian
Absolutely.
for putting this on the platform. So what I was able to speak to the youth about is I realized something. I'm trying to teach adults about credit, about starting an LLC to save money on taxes, to build wealth. And these 30, 40-year-old, 50-year-olds, this is brand new information to them, right? But I've been doing it for so long, I thought this was common knowledge. So we pivoted in our business where we started going into high schools and colleges and teaching the youth this information about how your credit report or your credit score is basically your adult report card. It lets the banks know, are you responsible with money? In addition to that, when you get business credit and you get an LLC, my banks are my first business partners. So I didn't go to anybody else and say, hey, let me borrow some money. No, I have good credit. I have my paperwork together. I'm going to go to my first business partners, American Express, Chase, Wells Fargo, and use this money and the education with a good business plan to get into real estate or other business that you feel passionate about and you're educated on.
So financial literacy is really key. Literacy is also key. So how do you make that connection? Because you say you're going into high schools and colleges. How are you making the connection with the schools, with the system, to allow you to come in and teach us financial literacy? They're also trying to teach literacy.
For me, it's just building a relationship, you know, with the deans, the principals, and assistant principals, and letting them know that I'm not trying to come in and step on their toes, just be an addition to what it is that they're doing. I'm big on education, and I tell kids all of the time, don't go and start trying to invest in anything if you're not educated. You know what I mean? With these kind of things, you want to take what's called a calculated risk. This isn't gambling. This isn't you hustling in the streets. This is investing. And investing is a long-term game. And if you educate yourself the right way, you can make a lot of money and change your life in this game. In addition to the stuff that you're learning in school, take time to self-educate. I talk to kids like this. 95% of the time, where are your teachers teaching you from? Books, right? There are millions and millions of books in the world. They're just teaching you out a few. So anything that you want to learn, empower yourself by going to pick up those books and self-educating yourself on top of what they're teaching you in school. It's not a hard thing. Put the PlayStation down, get off social media, and go and level yourself up. And the easiest way to do that is by educating yourself.
I think you said something important. How do we make this as literal as possible? Being able to teach our youth that this is simple and not complex is truly important. Because it's not taught in schools right now, we're coming as an outsider. It seems like something that's in addition. But the wealthy, they teach this information to their children very young. They have LLCs. Both my children have an LLC. They have bank accounts in their name already. And I speak to them in wealth talk. How much did you save today? How much did you invest today? My 5 and 6-year-old understand what I'm talking about. So it sounds complex and it sounds like something that is not literal because we weren't taught it. But at the same time you're teaching A, B's, and C's, we're teaching about LLCs also.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's interesting. I give my grandchildren, I stopped giving them toys and clothes. I get a lot of those. But I started giving them $100 every birthday. And the last time, I have 3 of them. The last time I gave them, it was earlier this year, my granddaughter said, they call me Papa Roo. Papa Roo, where you getting all these $100 bills from? You know, so the notion of giving something different than just what you otherwise expend is critically important as we go through and do all that. Going back to your earlier start, Ida B. Wells. We all know Ida B. Wells in a number of different ways. Obviously, it's the name of the main expressway now here in Chicago. She was the abolitionist, the freedom fighter for so long. But growing up in Ida B. Wells,
the housing project is a whole different thing. Yes, sir.
It's a whole different thing. Talk about some of the challenges that you had growing up there that allowed you to get to where you are and do what you're doing.
And I always talk to kids about this because I like to be transparent and, meet them where they are. I let them know immediately that, hey, look, I don't come from any financial literacy. We grew up, government assisted everything, Section 8 EBT. I dealt with a lot of trauma as far as being adopted when I was younger. My parents had drug issues, all of those things. So that's why I say, like, your circumstances, they don't dictate your outcome, because I had every reason to quit, man. I had every reason to give up. I had every reason to be in the streets, gang bang, go hustle, all of the things that people normalized in my community. I just didn't let it bring me down. I knew there was something bigger. I knew there was something better, and I stayed committed to that level of, mindset, and until I got here. And I always made it my mission and my purpose to, go back and teach the kids and just anybody in my community who's willing to learn and open their mind up, because I know what this information did for me and how important it was for my community. A lot of times we aren't able to do things because we lack information. There's no exposure, you know what I mean? And I feel like the more we expose kids to people who are just like them, who come from places that they come from, who are not necessarily famous or, just actors or ball players, they have more options that way. And for me, it was extremely important to have the right mindset and not let my circumstances really bring me down.
I think what you said was really important. If I can piggyback, we all have some sort of trauma growing up. We're taking on something that was lacking from our parents, right? So my trauma was, I'm firstborn generation Haitian. So there's a lot of things my parents didn't have access to in terms of knowledge, education. My parents both have a grade school education. So I was already behind because they can only give me so much, right? So I have this tagline where I say, audit your circle, right? So my parents were part of my inner circle. But there came a point where I had to fire my parents, right? If I wanted to become a millionaire, if I wanted to learn about real estate, if I wanted to learn about business, if I wanted to learn about freedom and wealth conversations, they're the first people I had to fire and insert new people into my circle to get me educated on that. And once that happened, it was ball game after that.
It's an interesting concept. Not so much firing your parents, but certainly bringing in different
new people
and different people that you have to do. We saw that happen just recently with Coco Gauff, right?
Yes.
So her parents were the ones who were leading her along, but in order to move to the next level, I taught you everything I can teach you.
Yeah.
I need to bring someone else to teach me that.
Yeah.
On that notion, this is the Waymaker Summit. So there's always somebody who helps to make a way for everybody. Nobody gets there on their own. Talk both of you, about some of the mentors, some of the Waymakers that you've experienced in your journey today.
My first Waymaker was my grandmother in the project. She put it in my head. She was like, you're going to be a millionaire. We stayed on the 6th floor, so from our building, you can see the Sox Stadium. And when the Sox hit a home run, the fireworks would go off. And she would be like, baby, that's going to be you one day. You're going to make Granny $1 million. You're going to buy us a big old house and all of that. So that was the first thing, that came to me. And it was important for my grandma to put that mindset in me. And from there, God has always put amazing people in my life. Like I said, my mentor, my big sister, Kiyoki Allen, who told me about the NACA program, which essentially has changed my life. And by it changing my life, I've been going out to speak and help change other people's lives, because not many people know about this program. And in our communities, they're like, dude, this is a life changer. I can go buy my first because most times our main issue is we can pay rent, but what's stopping you from buying a property? That $20,000 down payment, that $30,000, $40,000 down payment. But now they're finding information on a program that doesn't hold their credit score over their head. They allow them to purchase with no down payment, no closing costs. All of these things that essentially have been keeping us back for years. They need this information, man, and they love it. You know what I mean? And they're like, they see hope when I tell it to them, and they're like, oh, I have options now.
So your grandmother was your Waymaker. Now you're being a Waymaker for others.
Yes, my grandmother was my Waymaker, and like I say, my big sister Kiyoki, who really put me on this program that changed my life, and now I'm changing the lives of thousands of other people.
Fantastic.
I'm going to say Waymakers. I'm going to say my mentors are a team of people that taught me so many different things. Of course, my parents are my first Waymakers. Then my second mentor is Marcus Barney, him 500. He showed me how to monetize my information, how to systemize my business. Sanika Weaver, she taught me how to get into real estate. I have my mentor in stocks. His name is EK, teaching me that it is possible. These people are depositing in me all the time, so I have different streams of income coming in. But it has to go back to my parents, like you said, who showed me discipline and hard work is going to put you in position for the wins.
This is a summit that really focuses on uncomfortability and how do you grow from an uncomfortable place. Love for each of you to talk about a point, a time when you were uncomfortable and how you grew?
Oh man, I felt like I was uncomfortable majority of my life. I was like, I was in survival mode most of my life. Again, like I said, coming from the projects, being adopted, dealing with the trauma of, my parents having drug issues, me really trying to figure out who I am and find myself.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot, but the main thing is knowing there's something greater out there for you, and I've always had that mindset and that just the mentality, and it allowed me to grow into something better. And it's tough, but you can't let like the things that you go through, bring you down. You gotta find a way, and I'm just blessed that God has given me the ability, the wisdom, the wit, the know-how, the strength, the motivation, ambition, all of these things to make it through.
For me, I'm a short kid. I'm from Brooklyn, right? So I had an accent when I moved to Philly. I'm dark skinned, so people were teasing me from that. But I had amazing people that showed me how to love myself. Mm-hmm. So those things never affected me, because I was taught that when people tease you for something, it's something that's lacking in themselves. Yeah. So I had good people around me to brainwash me that way. So I didn't feel that I was less than. So again, it goes back to auditing your circle and having good mentors around you that was able to instill something in me so I could overcome those fears before they got rooted in me.
I don't want to miss this moment talking to people who are dealing with financial issues.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been studies that suggest, the Brookings Institution study suggests that we are now, as a community, we have about $18,000 per family in wealth. Mm-hmm. About 2053, that's going to go to zero.
Zero, yeah.
So as we think about that, and as you do the work that you do, when we know that this is what's coming, the question for us is, how do we change that trajectory? How do we make sure that they're wrong? So when we're talking about wealth building in our community and keeping that number, making it grow versus diminishing, mm-hmm. what advice do you give to people?
You have to learn how to invest. That's the only way to beat inflation. The cost of everything is going up. You know what I mean? The cost of living, the cost of homes, just rent, properties, food, gas, everything. So how do you beat it? You learn how to invest. You put your money into these same companies that are inflating their prices and everything, and you get those returns. So you find people who are smarter than you, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. If you hear Warren Buffett just went and bought $200 million in Apple stock, man, take your little $50 or $100 or $1,000
do the
and
same
put you
thing.
Some money in Apple stock too. Stop going to buy the iPhone. You don't need the newest iPhone. iPhone 13 worked just fine. Go take that money and put it in the stock. You just saw what Warren Buffett did. You just saw what Mark Zuckerberg just did. Why wouldn't you invest in these companies where these guys are billionaires and they can essentially grow your money for you? They're doing it for everybody else. They have investors in their businesses. And you can become an investor by putting those small pieces of money into those accounts and watching them grow. And that's how you beat inflation. And that's how you don't go from $18,000 to zero. You go from $18,000 to $50,000 because you put your money into companies that pretty much run the world.
Mm-hmm. Save, watch the experts and investors, they do.
Absolutely.
My suggestion, be in rooms like this, the Waymaker Summit. This is amazing. I was just at InvestFest a couple of weeks ago in Atlanta, where I'm in the room of like-minded people who are on their way to being successful or who are already successful. Yep. So I need to be around those people. So I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? How'd you do this? Ask those questions. Be in the proximity of power. So me just being here at this Waymaker Summit, I'm able to talk to my guy right here. I'm like, what? NACA program, huh? So now we're going to build and we're going to do something. There's many other people or influencers that I met here that we're going to partner up and we're going to go out and make money together and also educate. So impact and income just by being in the appropriate rooms.
Connecting relationships, building partnerships, and networking is what's going to make us go forward. So everybody didn't get a chance to listen to you all as you talk to the young people. Mm-hmm. Leave us with one pearl that you left with them as we close out this discussion.
Be consistent. Stay down till you come up. Everything will not be easy. Anything worth having, you're going to have to work for it. So you're going to have to be consistent. You're going to go through some tough times. You know what I mean? You're going to go through some difficult times. But as long as you see it through, you'll be successful. You just got to be consistent, though.
I would say hurry up and fail quickly. Get it over with. We're going to fall. You're going to make mistakes. You're not going to find the right mentor immediately, but I want you to execute on the information that you have. You watch 100 YouTube videos already. You've been to a bunch of conferences already. You took a bunch of notes. It's time to execute so you can have some receipts to take it to the next level.
Appreciate that. Michael Jordan, who we all know, said, his best book that I think was his first book, where he said, everybody fails at something. I can accept failure, but I can't accept not trying. So putting forth the effort, making the connections, and making these things work is what makes it work.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for
Thank you so much for having us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.